Hi everyone, in this video we're going to be talking about multiplying binomials and using something called the FOIL technique. We have this nice little acronym here called FOIL, and this stands for firsts, outers, inners, and lasts. And this is just simply the order of multiplication that we're going to do when we have two binomials. And just as a reminder, a binomial is exactly what it sounds like. A binomial is any polynomial with two terms in it. Okay, so if you have something like a plus b or c plus d, then it can be represented as that, then you have a binomial. And if you're multiplying two of these together, you can use this technique. So to start with, if we want to use the FOIL technique, we'll start by multiplying together the firsts. So here we have the first terms. The first terms are a and c. So we'll multiply a and c. So a is the first term of this binomial, and c is the first term of this binomial. Then we're going to multiply our outers. So here, that would be a and d. All right, so on the outside here, right? The outside of each of these. So we'll have a times d. Okay, and then we'll multiply the inners, so that would be b and c. Okay, and then we'll do our lasts, which are b and d. Okay? So first, outers, inners, and lasts. That is the order that we're going to be multiplying here. So let's take a look at a few examples and see if we can quickly and fairly easily multiply these together. So here we have 5x squared plus 5x squared times 8x plus 1. Okay, so if we use our FOIL our FOIL technique here, we'll start by multiplying our firsts. So our firsts are 5x and 8x. So we'll have 5x times 8x. Okay, then we have our outers, so 5x and 1. Okay, and then we have our inners, so 2 and 8x. Okay, and then we have our lasts, which are going to be 2 and 1. Okay, then we perform the multiplication on each of these. So we have 5 times 8 is 40, and x times x is x squared. Then we have 5x times 1. That's easy. That's just going to be 5x. And then if we have 2 times 8x, that's going to give us 16x, since 2 times 8 is 16. Then we just have x, and then 2 times 1 is just 2. So now what we do is we combine like terms. So we have one x squared term, which is 40x squared, so we'll keep that. Okay, and then we have two x terms, so we have 5x and 16x. We're adding these together. That will give us 21x. And then we have just one constant term, which is 2. So our final answer is going to be 40x squared plus 21x plus 2. Okay, this works with subtraction as well. There's not really much changes. It's just you have to pay attention to the signs is all. Okay, so here we have firsts are going to be 2 and 7. So if we have 2 and 7, that's going to give us 2 times 7. Okay, our outers are going to be 2 and negative 4x, so plus 2 times negative 4x. And then our inners are negative 5x and 7, so plus negative 5x times 7. And then our lasts are negative 5x and negative 4x. Okay, so 2 and 7, that's going to give us 14. And then if we have 2 times negative 4x, that's going to give us negative 8x. And then if we have negative 5x times 7, that's negative 35x. And then if we have negative 5x times negative 4x, we'll have negative 5 times negative 4. That's going to be positive 20. And then x times x is x squared. So we'll have 14 plus, or 14, we can remove these parentheses by just having 14 minus 8x minus 35x plus 20x squared. Okay, and now we can combine like terms. So we have one x squared term, so we'll put that out front. Usually it's a good practice to put your polynomials in standard form or in descending order. It's not wrong here if you don't, but just usually polynomials are written in descending order. So I like to put the highest degree term out front, and then yeah. So and then obviously on down, right? So if we look at our x terms, so we have negative 8x and negative 35x. So if you add those together, we get minus 43x, and then we have plus 14. So that would be our final answer here. Okay, how about this one? Here we have 3y plus 2 times 4y minus 7. Okay, so 3y plus 2 times 4y minus 7. So we do our firsts. So we have 3y times 4y. We have our outers, so 3y times negative 7. Okay, then we have our inners, which is 2 times 4y. And then 2 times negative 7. At the end here for our last. So if we look at our first terms here, 3y and 4y, 3 times 4 is 12, and y times y is y squared. Okay, then we have 3y times negative 7. 3 times negative 7 is negative 21, and we just have y. Okay, and then we have plus 2 times 4 is 8, and we just have y. Okay, and then 2 times negative 7 is negative 14. Okay, so let's go ahead and simplify this. We have 12y squared. This will become minus 21y plus 8y minus 14. Okay? So if we combine our like terms, we'll end up with 12y squared, since we only have one y squared term. And then we'll have minus 13y, because if you take minus 21y and then you add 8y to it, you'll get minus 13y. And we'll have minus 14. Okay, so now let's look at what happens if you want to square two binomials. Or square one binomial, I guess. You can think of it as multiplying together two binomials that are the same, but we're going to square one binomial here. So here we have x plus 3 squared. Okay, this is really not too bad here. One thing I do want to point out, because this is a mistake that I see all of the time, so I would really encourage you to be very careful about this. You cannot distribute the squared to the x and to the 3. That will not work. You will get a wildly different answer than what happens here. Okay, the reason this doesn't work is because this x plus 3 squared is the same thing as x plus 3 times x plus 3. All right, so let's see what this is. So if we have x plus 3 times x plus 3, if we do our firsts, we'll have x times x. That's going to give us x squared. Okay, and then we'll have our outers, x times 3, we'll have plus 3x. And then our inners are 3 plus x. Okay, our 3 times x is 3x, and then 3 times 3 is 9. So if we go ahead and combine like terms, we'll get x squared plus 3x is 6x plus 9. Okay, if you distribute this 2, okay, and remember you can't do this. If you distribute this 2, you'll get x squared plus 9, and you lose out entirely on this 6x term here. So you have to be very careful here. You cannot just distribute that exponent. I see that every semester. I see that mistake. So just trying to save you some grief with that. You cannot distribute that negative or that exponent. This is the same thing. Just when you see a binomial squared, just write it as a multiplication of that binomial by itself, okay? And then do your normal FOIL technique. Okay, how about 2 minus u squared? So this is the same thing as 2 minus u times 2 minus u, okay? So if we do our firsts, we'll get 2 times 2, which is 4. If we get 2 times negative u, we get minus 2u. And then minus u times 2 is minus 2u again. And then minus u times minus u, we'll go ahead and just write this out. Minus u times minus u. Okay, so we have 4, and then minus 2u minus 2u minus 2u is going to give us minus 4u. And then if we have minus u times minus u, those minus, the negatives are going to cancel there. And then we'll have plus u squared. Okay, and if we want to write this in descending order, we'll get u squared minus 4u plus 4.